What's up, guys? We got a game against Shri 1950, and as you can see by the graph, if you look at the end, in time trouble, I found a brilliant move only to be followed immediately by a game-losing blunder. So that's always fun. So let's go through the game. It's our accuracy. 78 and 74. D4, D6, inviting him, well, normally into a King's Indian. I'm just using a really weird move order. Yeah, normally I don't use this move order, but now we're in, let's say, a Pirc. So I castle. He's playing the normal approach, not an aggressive setup. He plays C3, so very non-aggressive. I develop my bishop and pin the knight to get my bishop out, give it a nice square before I potentially use that square for my knight. He castles, and now I just develop my knight into the center, and I'm ready to play E5. He kicks the bishop. You could bring it back. I just decide to trade. Not for any specific reason other than to just make sure I have squares for all my pieces. Now I play E5, confronting the center. He doesn't want to release the tension. He probably wants me to take so he can recapture the pawn. So he just develops his bishop instead, keeping the tension. That makes sense. I could go D5 here, which is kind of weird. It's not normally a move that I look at, but it actually works out here. All these trades. So D5 is a move, but D4 is also a move. Rook E8 looks like a move. So yeah, I went Rook E8, but it was definitely better to do one of the others. Open up the position first, and then do Rook E8 next. He goes Queen C2, apparently not taking advantage of my slow approach, but still a logical move, supporting the bishop and the center behind it. So yeah, again, I could probably take and open this up for my bishop and my rook. But instead I get a little fancy, and I go for knight to D7, extremely hyper modern / incorrect. But it does pressure the center. It does control this and open this up one more time. So it's potentially confusing for my opponent. Like if he pushes, maybe I can retreat my knight and just move my rook back over, push F5. Or maybe C6, I'm not sure. But he doesn't push. He develops his rook and keeps the tension again. And now I take. Now there's nothing left for me to do. I move my knight back, I open the diagonal. I can't really move my pieces anywhere. So I take, he takes. That also opens up this square. And if I can get rid of some pieces, that'll give me more space as well. So I go knight before immediately, hitting the queen and the bishop. So now I'm guaranteed to get this trade in. And so I remove one of his attackers, and I feel more at ease in my position. But he still has a very strong position as well. I develop my queen and attack this pawn simultaneously. Also, I connect my rooks. He retreats his knight, opening up the way for the f pawn, as well as defending this pawn a second time. I now see that my knight is no longer supporting an e5 pawn push, so I want to improve it. So I move it here to hit this a third time with the queen, the rook, and the knight, saying, what are you going to do now, white? Are you going to defend it? Are you going to push it? Are you going to counterattack? And now all my pieces kind of have a home. So even though I don't have a lot of space, as long as my pieces have good squares, I should be fine. Bishop goes to g5. This pawn is already defended. Maybe he's trying to improve it, pin the knight, maybe one day push e5. I immediately say, well, are you going to take the knight or are you going to retreat? He takes the knight, I take the knight, and now, I mean, my position looks fine. He tries to improve his knight this way, leaving the way for his f-pawn. And also defends this a third time, overprotecting it. So white doesn't have really weaknesses. I just lift one of my rooks in case I want to double, and also to defend this in case he goes for it. I figured it's a useful all-around move. What else? c5. Yeah, I guess c5 makes some sense. Attacking the center, yeah, that's probably a good move. But I didn't consider that, I don't think. I considered just improving my pieces slowly. Now he plays f4 with this intimidating. Look at that. This guy's not so intimidating. I just bring a rook over, saying if you push and I take, you won't be able to take with this pawn because your queen will hang. So you'll only be able to take with this pawn. He goes to support that push anyway. He says he doesn't care. I just move my king out of the way. I mean, I kind of move it in the way at the same time, but out of the way, and supporting these pawns one extra time. Because he's not likely to be able to use this anytime soon. My king, I'm tucking it away. I think it's a better long-term square. Maybe. So now he pushes, which looks like the natural follow-up to everything he's been doing. Because, I mean, you have a pawn on d4 and f4, and a rook behind it. How can you not push when I only have a pawn and a queen that's asking for it? So that's what he does. I take it, of course. He has to take with this pawn because of his queen is pinned. But now my queen's hit. Computer liked here, which makes sense. And on this move, you actually can go here, defending the pawn, attacking this. You can hit the knight next. But I went here instead, which creates this type of pin and these type of tactics now, which is what I was going for. So to me, this was like a tempo move. It also hits this pawn twice, which means the knight can't move unless a rook defends it. So now the queen goes here to block the diagonal because it was very problematic from a human point of view. And here I had this one opportunity, this one moment, because the queen just put itself into another pin. And so I have this one opportunity to play f6. He can't take because the queen hangs, and he can't take the rook because the rook hangs. So f6 to break down the center and open this up would have been a super nice move. I played a different move, obviously a worse move. Just saying I'm gonna push if you don't stop me, and then he doesn't stop me, and then I don't push. Not sure why, but instead I went rook d5, again missing the opportunity to play f6 and destroying his entire center and opening my stuff up. Everything would be opened up completely for black. And I can only do it because this is pinned, which is nice. Instead, I centralize a rook. He moves his king away from this diagonal because he senses danger. I improve my queen one step forward, and I x-ray this rook, which is loose. At the same time, extra pressure here this way. So what is white supposed to do here? Well, he's not supposed to blunder. I don't think that's the plan. This looks like it takes a semi-open file. It looks like it supports a knight jump. It looks like it's defended. And yet it's a blunder because you can take this pawn. Well, at this point in the game, I played pretty well. And at this point, I have a minute on my clock, I just realized. And he has 11 minutes. But what is this tactic? Oh wait, was that not the best? Rook d e5. No, that was it. He takes, you take. And now, if the queen moves, you lose the rook as well as those pawns. So the queen has to sack itself. Okay, so I definitely missed that. And instead of that, I kicked the knight, which seemed pretty logical to me. He did have this one move to put this in here, which is pretty cool. But we both missed it. Instead, he did what I figured he would do, which is throw the knight in there. Then I figured I would push and immediately kick the knight. So now it moves to a central square. And now there's lots of tactics everywhere. And I missed all of them. What did I play? 1 minute on my clock. What pops into my head in this position? c5, opening things up. And if he takes this way, you take the center pawn. Interesting. I did not do that. I moved my queen back. With 1 minute, I must have said, let me solidify, control everything. This guy defends the pawn because this actually double hit this guy. So it was a move with tempo. It wasn't just a retreating move. It just looks like a strong coordinating move with tempo. Now I move my queen over to the king side, saying this guy will defend him. Now I guess he wants to control this square to help with his rook so that he can come over. Although he could have gone over with this rook at any time. And now I use this as an opportunity with 35 seconds on my clock. This guy's 10 minutes, I have 35 seconds to find a brilliancy. Boom. Bishop takes e5. And the idea is I take a pawn, he takes a bishop, I take a second pawn, so 2 pawns for the piece, and this guy's hit 3 times, so he actually can't be defended by just 1 rook, so you have to counter the queen. That's the only way to try to survive. I get a queen, you get a queen, I get back the piece, and I'm up 2 pawns, and my rooks are connected. And your rooks didn't infiltrate to the 7th or anything like that, so black is better. But this guy realizes an even better move than taking, and that's throwing in the intermezzo rook f1. Boom. And now again, I'm winning if I just see bishop h2 check, right? Displacing the king, he takes, and then I'm winning the rook while keeping this pin. And with 30 seconds on my clock, that's an easy tactic to see, actually. It's not hard. But I missed it, and I went for just a completely losing move. I took on d4, which doesn't work. If he takes your queen, it works, because you take his queen with check, and then both of his rooks are hanging, and his knight. But if he doesn't take your queen, and also if he takes with the bishop, right, then you can take the queen. If he takes your queen, you can take, I don't know, you can take whatever you want and win. Either one wins. But the one variation this doesn't work is you take the pawn, he takes with the rook, and now you're screwed. I mean, no matter what you take, you're down material. If you take the rook, the king takes, and you don't get the queen. Right? You're just down a ton of material. If you take this rook, he takes your queen, you get a knight, he moves he doesn't even need to move the queen. He gives you this check, which displaces your rook, and he's still up a full queen exchange, whatever you call that. But even if he didn't, yeah. So rook d4 was a move I missed in my calculation, I guess. I thought I was being clever. Sacking this bishop, opening everything up, pins, getting my pieces active, and I immediately followed brilliant with blunder. So he sees it, he takes it, I take it, he takes my queen, I take the knight, and we go down this variation. I move my king, he takes, I take, he takes, and that's the end of the game. And that's how I got destroyed. Well, not destroyed. That's how in time trouble I couldn't keep up. We just play through the game real quickly. Yeah, because that was this one. Okay, so not a horrible game. Not bad at all. Until I had 30 seconds. And even then I found a brilliancy. Alright, pretty good. But need to move faster. I need to make less fancy moves in the opening. Alright. We learned something. We keep going to 2100.